record it, and then if you need to go back and view anything later, you will have that recording to refer to, and in any section that you might have missed. And then also I will send out a PDF of the slideshow that I'm using today for our webinar. And I'm sorry, I'm still just admitting a few people. Love that. All right. And so there we go. So welcome. Happy March 1st. I'm very happy to see everyone. As I said, those of you that are just entering the room, there should be a statewide tornado drill today, starting at 10:07 Eastern time, 9:07 Central time. So please follow your school's protocol, to join in that drill, to make sure that you are safe and you know what you are supposed to do in the event of a tornado. And so, okay. All right. So David, interesting. So his office is a tornado shelter. So that's great. How awesome is that? So this is, I do want to do a connection, but I am afraid that we may not have time. At least we can get it started. So on your screen is a QR code, and let me get a few more people admitted. Here we go. Is a QR code. There's also a link, and I will put that in the chat as well, in case that is easier for you to take part. We are going to create a spring word cloud. At least I'm attempting to do a spring word cloud, as I'm still admitting a few people. Hang on. There we go. So if you have a cell phone that you prefer to use, which go ahead and scan that QR code, and it should take you to a site called Menti. If you are wanting to use your computer, let me get that link in the chat real quick. Sorry. Let me put this in there. Oops, sorry, hang on, I gotta admit somebody else. So let me put this in the chat. And what I'm asking you to do is I would like for you to tell us, what are some of your favorite things about spring? So when you go to using that QR code, or you can go to just click on that link that I put in the chat, it should allow you to enter up to 3 of your favorite things. So we're looking for sort of 1 or 2 word answers. What are your favorite things about spring? Awesome. We already have some players. And so we're going to build a word cloud. Oh, this is great, guys. This is working.
So Karen, I'm confused because it says, why do you serve AmeriCorps?
I'm sorry,
what? I did the QR code.
What's that?
The question on the Menti says, why do you serve with AmeriCorps, when I did the QR code?
Okay.
I got that too.
Okay, so let me, my apologies. Let me try to copy this again.
It should say at the top of the screen.
That's what I got.
Chance to scan the QR code.
Okay, so my apologies for that, everyone. So if you, I'm not sure why it, okay. Let me go back.
At the top, it says the presenter has changed the slide, and then you can choose go to new slide, and then you go to the spring one.
Oh, thank you so much. My apologies, everyone. I tried to test this out with a couple of my own Gmail accounts, and I'm learning a new tool, so I appreciate your patience. We will do the AmeriCorps one a little bit later. But while we are waiting for that, for the statewide tornado drill, this is a nice kind of, although that's something we don't look forward to, tornadoes in the spring, we can focus on some of the pleasant things. So it looks like so far we have,
hey Karen.
Yes.
Can you relink that, because I don't see it in the chat, and I accidentally exited out of it.
Sure.
Sorry.
You don't need to be sorry. Whoop, it looks like there we go. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so far it looks like flowers, sunshine, warmth, warm weather, are leaders. I agree. Those were some of the same things that I put when I was testing it out. Okay. If there is anyone, Mindy, if you're able to email Riley Brewer the link for this meeting, I'm trying not to get away from my slide too much, but Riley Brewer, thank you so much.
Karen, I got into it. I got it fixed.
Oh, hello, Riley.
It was
So
a
glad.
problem with
Sorry,
my
I
computer. I got it fixed.
I'm so glad that you're here. So we're just doing so in the chat is a link for our what's called Menti, and we're creating a spring word cloud. Oh, here's Shelley. Awesome. All right. So I will continue working on my a smooth way to present that to everyone in the near future. Hopefully we'll work out the kinks before we do another one later. So this is our word cloud. This looks great. And again, I love spring and summer. So I woke up in a good mood today. I see tulips, so I too like thunderstorms, although they can be somewhat frightening. Scary, but this is a really
Karen,
yes.
the tornado drill has started.
Okay, thank you. So please, do what you need to do, be a part of that school for your safety. And I'll pause the recording and we'll come back in just a moment as a group.
Nathan, I'm curious if the call.
All right, there's a couple comments. Let me just see. Okay, so it looks like some coaches are reporting that they maybe they started a little bit later with the drill than others. So we're going to have folks in and out. So again, I am recording the session. So if anyone misses anything, feel free to go back and watch just that part of it or the entire thing if you want. And you'll also get a copy of the slideshow. So we just did our word cloud connection just to kind of get us energized thinking about spring. And one of the words that I used, I didn't do it for this just because I was just trying to manage everything, but hope. Every time, spring comes around, I always think, oh, winter's over, lots of hope. So I wasn't sure if anybody marked that on the word cloud, but that would be one word that I would definitely use as well. So let me let a few others in. All right. So please make sure that you you're going back and looking at this slideshow PDF once I sent it out a little bit later today. There's links that are going to be in there, links to important information, how to sign up for certain things, including the April training. So if you haven't already RSVP'd for that, please do so. The deadline is March 7th. And then in just a moment, I'm going to talk, Cassidy and I, and probably Kayla as well, are going to talk about AmeriCorps Week that is coming up here soon. We have some information to share out as far as what the themes of AmeriCorps Week are, how to participate, and then also some exciting information about sort of an incentive program around that. And then as close to 10:30 as possible, we will have a guest speaker. Sabrina Shepherd is going to talk with us about some tax information that might be helpful. Some of you have already started to file your taxes and all that, but typically tax day is considered April 15th. So for those of you that are still working on that, or if you have some questions, this is an opportunity for you to sort of tap a tax guru to get all those questions answered for you. And we really appreciate Sabrina being here. And then we have a couple of reports from recent professional developments that some of our coaches and staff have gone to. So I've asked those that have attended a recent supporting military family information kind of event at Xavier University to share a few takeaways and highlights from that experience, as well as a CPE summit that was held in Lexington just the past few days. So thank you to those folks for agreeing to share today. And then just a little bit about serving over spring break. If that is something that you want to consider, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we'll end with some very important information about the fentanyl crisis. Some of you have heard about that. And then we'll also have another best guess segment at the end of our session today to see, to kind of talk about our data, because that's very important in our program as we move through the rest of the school year. So again, if you have not registered, or excuse me, if you have not RSVP'd for the Lake Cumberland in-person training in April, please make sure that you check your inbox for that link to fill out the Google form. If you know you cannot make it, we want everyone that can go to go. But if you are not sure, there's an option to check right now, unsure. But we need to account for everyone by March 7th to kind of see how many rooms we need to reserve and food and all that. So please make sure that you check your inbox for that. Once you get this slideshow a little later, you can also click this link to be able to fill out that RSVP form. If you have questions, there are spaces there for you to provide some thoughts or questions or concerns, and we can review those to kind of help make that possible for you to go, hopefully. So before our guest speaker, I just wanted to share out some more information about AmeriCorps Week. So I've been sort of building this up over the last couple of webinars. And so Cassie and I are going to talk a little bit about what that's going to look like. So again, AmeriCorps Week is March 12th through the 18th. It's a Sunday through a Saturday. So we have a couple of weeks or a week and a half until that launches. So please be sure to kind of read over the information about what AmeriCorps Week is. But in a nutshell, it's a way for us as AmeriCorps members and some of our alumni and staff and just the various programs across the state and country to recognize national service, the importance of national service. And so this will be done through, conversation with others. It will be done through creating bulletin boards, posters. It can be done through social media. And so, we've created a really nice campaign, I think, and incentive program around this. So you will be receiving things over the next couple of days about participating in AmeriCorps Week. And so again, this is something that is not only happening within our program, but it's happening across the country. So here's everything you really need to know about AmeriCorps Week at this time. So the who and why. So all of us at in the Kentucky College Coaches Program, the high school as well as the college, and our VISTA members are participating, as well as the staff here at KYCC. So we are going to do our part to sort of join in with this national celebration of AmeriCorps Week and AmeriCorps service and national service overall. The what? So there are 7 themes overall, and I'll share those with you in just a moment. And then along with those themes, there are activities that are reflective of sort of various levels of planning and engagement. And so depending on, the time that you may have, or the knowledge of, national service, or just, your participation style. Some of us may not be big on social media, but we can create a poster, or we can have a conversation with somebody in our family or something like that. So all levels of participation and engagement are valuable. But for those that do involve a little bit more time, there will be, it may be a little higher up on a scale because there is a point value for some of the incentive programs. So when, again, it is March 12th through the 18th. And nobody is asking you to necessarily do something on a weekend, but if you are on social media on the weekend and you see a post that you can retweet or something like that, then that would be much appreciated. And you can reflect that on your participation. And then the where, again, you can participate right from your host site, your school where you are, from your home, and just overall in your community. So no special preparation necessarily needs to be done. And so here are the themes of AmeriCorps Week. And so thank you to the planning committee, Cassidy, Kayla, Callie Mobley with VISTA, And I believe Marissa joined us for one of the earlier planning meetings, but so these are the themes that we came up with. I think they're pretty exciting, so take a look at those. And so on Sunday is the big kickoff. And so for that day, again, not expecting you to really do a lot of, that is your time to be with your family and rest and all that. So, but we do have some posts, some social media posts that we've created that, if you're on social media, you can repost those, you can add your own message, or you are welcome to create your own if you have some time on that kickoff day. Monday, the 13th, will be, the theme is the history of AmeriCorps and national service. And again, there are different activities around that, or you are free to come up with your own. Tuesday, the 14th, the theme is why I serve. The 15th is community connection, day of service. The 16th, a day in the life of an AmeriCorps member. Again, so coaches can reflect on their roles and Vistas will reflect on theirs, and we'll kind of learn from each other. Friday is the AmeriCorps Alumni Day. And so we have activities around that. And then on Saturday, we will end with current AmeriCorps service opportunities. And those will be opportunities within our own program, our own programs, as well as across the state and nationally. And so this is a really ugly slide, but it just has some basic information. And so I will show you in just a moment quickly, because I don't want to get too in the weeds with it, but everyone will be receiving what I'm calling a game board. And so this game board will have each of the themes laid out with an explanation of what the vision is for that theme. And then there will be different levels of activities around each of those themes. And so again, the idea is just to increase involvement, participation. In the process, you will learn so much more about AmeriCorps and national service. So you will come to really realize the significance of what you are doing. But then also you will be able to communicate that to others and, share with your students, share with your friends and family. And so it is sort of a transformative experience to be part of it. But it's also a way for us to kind of do some team building as well. So we will share out all the details about, when you get your game board, what do you do with it and all that. But you can read that slide, a little bit later today. So essentially what it's going to look like is this. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed. It looks a little overwhelming at first, but basically it's just like a calendar of all the themes, an explanation, and then examples of activities that you can choose from, or you can create your own. So we do encourage you to create your own activities and carry those out if you can. So let me let somebody else in. Okay. So I know I'm going very quick, but there'll be more explanation in the coming days. So here's the price structure. And so there will be a $100 gear store credit or office supply credit or educational supply credit to the member that has the highest points. And that could be a KCC member. It can also be a Vista member. So it's a top prize. If we have a tie, there is a way for us to slightly increase that pool of dollars. But so everyone is can compete if you're competitive for that top prize of the highest point value. The next level down is we are looking for top participant from the KCC program and a top participant from the Vista members. So again, this is going to be on not a point value necessarily, but the number of activities that a member takes part in. And so I know I have $50 gear store credit. It's going to be, so if we have ties and things like that, there is a way for us to help spread that around. But there will be a cap. So, but this is probably about the average prize for that category. Everyone who submits a game board with at least 5 activities, so hoping one from each day, but in some days might be busier than others, you may need to double up or something like that, will receive some KYCC or Kentucky College Coach swag. And then everyone who submits a game board with at least 2 activities will receive a certificate of participation. And so, we realize that everybody has different schedules and things like that, but we are just really wanting everyone to at least take part in a few activities. All right, so to kind of get us in the mood and the motion of thinking about AmeriCorps Week, I do have another mentee, and so I'm asking you, and hopefully I don't bomb this one, but so let me go to my get this on here. So here is the link for the next slide, and let me get to that and change it because it's going to get me. And so this, whoop, oh, come on, Karen. Hold on. I thought my computer's acting a little wonky. Let's try this again. There we go. All right, so I want you just to kind of think about, a couple of reasons right now why that stand out really strong with you, why you are serving with AmeriCorps in your roles. And so thank you. Already some great answers coming in.
Yeah.
I love it. So helping, new challenges, future connections, love it. And so for those of, I feel like most of you are probably familiar with word clouds, but if you're not, the idea is that, the words that have the highest frequency of consensus are going to appear larger.
Oh my God.
And so I love.
Well, I'm gonna take it for the rest of the month. So what's the big deal?
Someone is off of mute
Can
right
you
now.
please?
Yes, if you could please mute.
Oh my God, I'm coming to get him.
Karen, you can.
All right, I gotta
Yeah,
leave.
I'm going to try to get
Go
to
ahead
that.
and let him
Hang
walk.
on.
Go ahead and let him walk. I'm on my way.
Sorry. When I'm
That's all.
sharing, it's hard. to
Jerome,
do
tell
that.
Jim when he gets home, get the phone to Jerome.
So let me.
How many days is he suspended?
Let me stop sharing. Hold on. Keep going with your answers. All right. I feel like we might be good now. And the exciting thing is now coming back to, we can see how the word cloud is developed. So why do you serve with AmeriCorps? All right, and helping is front and center. So far it's showing sort of the largest, most frequent answer. But this is looking beautiful, everybody. So my plan is once we have, and I'll just give everybody maybe another minute because we do want to move along. We're doing pretty good with time. Is I want to capture this in sort of a JPEG format, and I want to use this as our in a social media post or just some other type of promotion of our program, because why you serve is important. I want to know that, you need to know that, and others want to know, like, what is the significance? Why should I consider serving in AmeriCorps? And so, so your reflections, your input is incredibly valuable to us. But then hopefully it's also helpful for you all too, to kind of pause and think about, why you're doing what you're doing. So helping, community, future, bettering futures. So this looks great. So our responses are kind of slowing down. Feel free to continue. I will leave this particular word cloud activity active. So, at some point, in the next hour or so, if you have something else to add, please do so. And then once we have the word cloud completed, like I said, I'm going to capture it in a JPEG and use this as part of our social media for the theme of why you serve. So if you see that on social media for that day, that day's theme, please reshare and add your own thoughts and things like that. So awesome. Thank you all so much for participating in the word cloud. Let me go back to the slideshow. And now I'm going to ask that Cassidy introduce our guest speaker today. And then I'm going to stand by everybody, Sabrina and Cassidy, if I need to do a slideshow or anything like that. But thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Today we have Sabrina Shepherd joining us. She is a former Kentucky College coach with AmeriCorps. She served in Lynn Camp High School, which is where I serve now. She's also a certified accountant and tax professional, and she's currently a college success coach through Berea's Partners for Rural Impact. So she does a lot of awesome stuff. Without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and let her take over and do her presentation for us. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you. All right, I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Absolutely. I've selected the option to allow others to share. So let me know if you run into any issue.
All right, thank you. Okay. So this is about the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. I am a tax specialist and AmeriCorps alumnus. So the Education Award, I'm just going to be covering how much is it, what's it cover, how do I use it, how many years can I keep it, how much can I get, and how can I transfer it if I'm eligible to transfer it, and what do I need for my taxes, the main things. I'll keep it very simple, very short, I promise. I won't hold y'all too long. All right, so how much is it? It depends on how many hours you serve. Every year it's based on the Pell Grant amount. So this year it's $6,895 for the full time. Now they say 3/4 is $4,826.50. That's not like 0.75 of the full Pell Grant amount. That's a different number. I'm not sure exactly how they figure it out exactly, but just know it's not going to be 75% of it, unfortunately. But I mean, it's going to be based on the number of hours in some way, but they do it a little differently. What does it cover? Eligible educational expenses, and what exactly are those? Basically anything that is through a Title IV school, it'll fund that. So anything that shows up on the federal code, federal state code for the FAFSA, like those schools, every school is listed there that qualifies for FAFSA money. You can use it towards that. And also some things that are not necessarily what you would think, like for instance, basket weaving, for example. Let's say you want to take a class in that. Well, if it's funded through the community college, you can do that perfectly fine. So just things that you wouldn't normally expect are that. Also, qualified student loans. You can pay back loans, Title IV institutions. They have to be federal loans. They can't be like private loans. That's the only qualifier there. Eligible education expenses. This kind of goes over that. I'm just going to breeze through it, so I won't be reading all these. Loans backed by the federal government under Title IV. So Stafford loans, Perkins loans, that kind of thing. You pay back those. Forbearance and accrued interest payment. So there is an opportunity through AmeriCorps if you want to do forbearance on your loans. You don't have to pay on your federal student loans while you serve in AmeriCorps. Thing is, it does not work on private loans, and you will have to do a forbearance request for each loan provider. So there's that. Interest will continue to accrue on your loans while they're in forbearance, but when a member successfully completes the program, when you serve your full amount of time, the National Service Trust will pay off all or a portion of your interest accrued during your service period. Thing is, after they do that, it becomes taxable income. So they're going to send you a 1099 MISC, which is a tax form. Basically, you're going to get sent in the mail whenever that happens. Usually it's supposed to happen at the end of your service. So the last year of your service, you expect to find something like that if you did the interest payments. And that's just going over that. If you guys are interested in reading all that, you can. I'll send you the link. It's fine. But like I said, you can use it on any class that interests you. So if you don't necessarily want to go back and get a degree, that's fine. I mean, it can't be like Aunt Mary's basket weaving classes offered in her living room, but it has to go through an actual institution. So community college, usually they show up on it. And if you want a list of those, I can send you those. There's a direct link off the FAFSA page that tells you all the ones eligible for that money. And okay, how do I use it? So to use your Siegel Award, you need to log into your AmeriCorps portal. If you don't know how to do that, basically you go and you select the appropriate education award request. So create forbearance request, create interest payment request, or education award payment request. It's all over here. Drop down menu, use payment type, gives you the option of education expenses or loan payment. Be sure to check all these over here, certify and submit before you do that. You want to search for the institution over here, make sure it's the right one, because you don't want it to go to somebody that it doesn't pertain to. Interest payment and forbearance request. These work the same way. Pick the year you served that you need it to cover, and then add institution you need to go toward. And it'll prompt you every step of the way. You can also see where you're at when you log back in. So it'll tell you like where it's sent to, what date to expect it, that kind of thing. And it's usually sent within like 3 to 4 business days, is what they say. But sometimes when it's a educational stipend, they'll say 4 to 6 weeks, just to give you like a little bit of extra time just for it to go over to the institution. Now they will sometimes split it in half. I went to Western Governors University on the educational stipend, and they split it in half throughout the semester, so it went in partially, which is fine. That's just some way they go about doing it. You get the full amount in. It's just when it drops, it's kind of different. How else can you use it? You compare your educational stipend up with a matching institution discount. So like AmeriCorps has a big list of institutions that will have a matching scholarship, tuition waivers, and a bunch of other little perks. So to find out more about that, you can visit this website, and I can also put it in the chat if you need it. Western Governors University offered a scholarship for AmeriCorps alumni. The only thing is it's dependent on funds. So there's a list of it, but it's just be sure to keep in mind it is dependent on funding. So, and also first come, first serve. So just because they offer it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. Main thing is apply early, and then make sure to mention your AmeriCorps alumni or member. How many years can you keep it? 7. So if you served in 2020, 2027 is when it expires. So you keep the AmeriCorps, well, the Siegel Award 7 years. So how much can you get? You can only earn the amount of 2 full service terms, and the full service term is based on the Pell Grant of that year. So $6,895 for this year. Let's assume that it's the same next year. So those 2 years, $6,895 a piece, but it's going to go up, most likely, fingers crossed. So there's that. Can you transfer it? If you're 55 and older, yes, you can. You have to be aged 55 and older when you serve. You may transfer it to a child, grandchild, or foster child, and you transfer it the same way that you went in to do your education work to get, forbearance or interest, any of those. You want to go through My Education Award in your AmeriCorps portal, and then create award transfer request. But the things you need to know: Social Security number, date of birth, full name, street address, email address of the recipient, and they have 30 days to accept or deny the transfer. And then, of course, you can re-transfer it after 30 days, just have to request it again. What do you need for your taxes? So this is the main part. Well, I was called in for. Sorry if I went over 2 things you might have already known. But 1099 MISCs, or MISC, however you want to pronounce it or say it. So basically, whenever you use your award, if you use $600 or more during a given tax year, you will be sent a Form 1099 MISC. And if it's under that amount, you need to log into your AmeriCorps portal to print the form. If you want to put it on your taxes, obviously, you should do that. But all right, it is taxable. Your Siegel Award is taxable. When you use it, it's taxable the year that you use it. So let's see. As an example, this is where I use mine. Mine went to Western Governors University, but you'll get this in the mail. It's going to have Corporation for National and Community Service. Other income is going to be 30, 47, 50 is what mine, well, that's what mine was that year. So, and you can also, if you don't get in the mail, you can, which a lot of people don't anymore, you can select My Tax Statements in your AmeriCorps portal, select the correct year for each 99 in your tax statements, and then print it out that way. And it works the same with the interest. If you, the year that you finish serving and you get the interest, the 1099 MISC for the interest, it works the same way. You can log in and find it the same way through your portal. And one thing that you need to know about this, the 1099 MISC is considered miscellaneous income. However, you can request a lifetime learning credit when doing your taxes if you get the 1098T from your university. And if it shows you paid in more than whatever scholarships or, well, we're not going to get too many grants if you've already graduated with a 4-year degree, but whatever scholarships you qualify for minus that amount is what you can put up here in your payments as received. You're going to be, that's going to determine your eligibility for the lifetime learning credit and how much you're going to get. So to break that down, real simple, I'm not going to make it too complicated. As an example, take this 1098T from Berkeley. Payments made were $15,000 in box 1, which is up here. So if the scholarship received was only $3,000 instead of this $30,000, which is insane, good for them. But in box 5, you'll see like $3,000 here. They would have to pay out of pocket $12,000. That does not mean you get reimbursed $12,000. Be nice, but not going to happen. The amount of the credit is 20% of the first $10,000 of qualified education expenses, or a maximum of $2,000 per return. So the LLC, the lifetime learning credit, is not refundable. So you can use the credit to pay any tax you owe, but you won't receive any of the credit back as a refund. So in the Berkeley case, you get 20% of that $12,000 is $2,400, but the maximum credit allowed is $2,000. So or the person going here is going to get only $2,000 back, but they don't necessarily get it back to them as a refund. What's going to happen is it's a non-refundable credit. It means if they owe like $3,000 in taxes, they would only have to owe $1,000 after taking the LLC out of it. So, but if they owe like $300, they're not going to get $1,700 back. Their tax gets reduced to 0, but it's a non-refundable credit, so it doesn't go below that. So that's what that means. But it's still a good perk, especially if like you've went back to college and you've got to the 1098T. Make sure you use that when you do your taxes, because it's extra money. Now, before you had the American Opportunity Tax Credit when you were in college, or some of you did. I did not, because it came after my time. But that's a good thing to mention to your seniors and their parents or guardians, just in case they want to get some of that money back that they paid out. If they're not fully eligible for the Pell Grant or any of the other additional grants, CAP Grant, KTG, all that, they're going to be paying out of pocket. So they're going to get this 1098T. Make sure they hang on to that. Or I don't know if you can tell the students or the parents, either one. If the parents don't file, the students can actually file using that, and they can get the American Opportunity Tax Credit as well. So if their parents aren't working that year and they work, they can actually claim it on theirs. So, little things they need to know, but if you want more information about that, I can tell you later. All right, so see who has taxes for free. This is going to come in handy. Oh, hang on, go back. Previous. There we go. New. This computer, I apologize, y'all. Bad control.
Gotta love technology.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, we'll go back this way. The buttons are always different, but that's fine. From current slide. Yes, please. All right, where you can go to get your taxes done for
And
free.
Karen,
So volunteer income tax assistance or free file, those are through the IRS, and I have the links down at the bottom if you want to capture those. You just take a picture if you want to. And then KCEOC, if you're in Knox County, they will actually do the taxes for free. So if you want to go there, they don't charge you anything. Unemployment agencies, sometimes you can go through there and find out places where you can get them done for free nearby. Because a lot of these places, they're not local for some people. So it really just depends. And if you want like a list of more, I could probably find you some if you want it. But that might help a little bit. Whether it's you getting your taxes done, or if it's a student wanting to get their taxes done for the first time filers, they probably don't want to spend $200 at the tax office down the road. They probably want to go down here. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What else do you need to know about taxes? Okay, your tax bracket.
Sabrina, I don't know
Sorry.
if this is a good spot, but there were actually 2 questions in the chat. So if this is a good spot, I thought maybe we could address them. That way we didn't move on to other stuff, because I think it's more related to stuff we already talked about. Somebody wanted to know, if they give their education grant to their daughter, who would be responsible for the taxes owed? Do you know that?
Education grant to your daughter. Well, for the taxes owed for that one, I would assume it would be the daughter, but let me make sure on that one. because I don't want to say something and be wrong. And then the deduction for mileage to and from our site. You're good. It should be whoever you transfer it to, because they're going to get it in their name. But let me make sure on that one. And I'll be sure to email on this too, just because I don't want to say something to be wrong. But is there a deduction for mileage to and from our site? That should be. Do you guys get a deduction? Is that paid out through the campus compact now, or is it?
We get a mileage reimbursement when we go to trainings and things like that, but I'm not really, I don't think there's anything for commuting to and from the site that I know of.
No. Well, as far as I know, is you can use mileage, but it's not for this purpose. It would be for more like a self-employed. So if you're doing like a Schedule C, you're going to have down there like what the mileage was, how much gas you spent, depreciation on your truck, everything as far as that goes. But as far as working for your employer, I mean, if you can get the mileage through the campus compact, that's one thing, but you can't like double dip it. You can't get it through claim it on your taxes so much if you're getting it paid by your employer. It's just if you're like self-employed and you get a Schedule C, you're not getting that paid off by employer because you work for yourself. Does that make sense? I hope. It's a good United Way agency. It's a good free tax prep too.
So if we're considered members, and as a member we go to and from our site, is that part of it, or? If you're using it to go from your site to a different location, it's up to the campus compact whether or not they cover like the mileage on that. I'm thinking they used to for like trainings and stuff. It just depends.
So
I'm talking about our daily commute. You know what I mean?
Oh.
When our daily commute to the site, is that?
That is for.
So I can talk to that, Sabrina. So the very confusing thing about this situation is that for Northern Kentucky University, who pays your living allowance, they consider you as a temporary employee. And so the rules around employees is that employees do not get reimbursed for mileage to and from the workplace.
Okay.
And so that would not apply to, I mean, you wouldn't be able to use that.
Okay, that clears it up.
Yeah.
Now, some places like a H&R Block, let's say I work in Barberville office and they need me in Middlesboro. Traveling from this location in Barberville to Middlesboro, I'd get paid like the mileage for that. But it really just depends on like the company too, if they can do that. Most of them do, but again, it just depends on like where you're going. But you can't. They won't pay me to go from my house to Barberville. That'd be nice, but they don't do that. But now, if you're a self-employed individual, you can put in like your mileage and everything, because just depending on how far out you go. But that's just like self-employed. That's completely different from what we're doing, unfortunately.
Also, Sabrina, it looks like Kayla was wondering if you know anything about how you can do write-offs on certain health equipment. She has a service dog, and she heard she could possibly get a write-off for that. And she was wondering if you know anything about that sort of thing.
Okay. In this situation, you want to look at the itemized deductions of Schedule A. Stop sharing things up. Itemized deductions.
But you had itemized Schedule A.
Yep. So
Sorry,
Schedule A. Oh, you're good. If you look at Schedule A, itemized deductions for your medical and dental expenses. But the thing is, you might want to consider what you can get out of it. So let's say you decided to itemize your deductions. The full amount for the standard deduction for a single person would be $12,000. Let me make sure on this one, because it changes every year. Let me pull up that 1040. Yeah, $12,950 for single or married filing separately. Married filing jointly would be $25,900. Head of household $19,400. These are your standard deductions. Now, if you chose to itemize
It would need to be over that amount, really. I mean, you can get some stuff back, obviously, like charitable contributions, that kind of thing, some medical. It really just depends, but they're going to go with the greater amount of the two, usually. Some of that stuff you can put in, it's going to help a little bit, not too much from what I'm seeing. But it just depends on what you put in. Like mortgage interest, if you want to put your mortgage interest on your house, that's going to help state, not so much federal. So, little things like that add up.
So then my other question is, we were having a conversation, would insulin pumps, because I'm paying $300 every 3 months almost. Could that be itemized?
I'd put it in there on the Schedule A. Make sure they put it in Schedule A. Make sure you bring up every bill you've had, every medical bill. See if you can actually, if it adds up correctly and it helps you, bring it to the tax office. Because I've noticed that too. Some people don't like their if they go back and forth to the doctor every single week, they're going to put in their every medical expense they've got, along with dental, eyeglasses. They put in everything they have. If you have charitable contributions as well, I mentioned that one too. Goodwill helps. Church tithes, that helps. Salvation Army, if you want to add all that up and put it in there, by all means, bring it on in. And it all goes on the Schedule A. Most do anyway. It should help you a little bit. That was about it on the slideshow. Let me see if I had anything else in there. Oh, tax brackets. Okay. So you might want to use your educational stipend while you serve in AmeriCorps if you anticipate getting a higher paying job later, just because it could boost you into a higher tax bracket and you might end up being taxed more. So if you want any information about that, I can get you that as well. But I mean, if you're going to lose your stipend after 7 years, be sure to use it anyway. So main thing. My next question to you all, would you prefer something for your seniors or juniors if they're filing taxes for the first time? You want some information about that? I don't mind sharing it if you do. I can get a file together for Cassie to share if you like. Sounds good.
That would be awesome.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If we claim our kids that they got a W-2 from working, can they still file?
Yeah, that you can. The dependents can still file. They just have to make sure they put down that they are eligible to be claimed as a dependent, because it could make things a little bit confusing. Now, the child tax credit, if you do have a child, it has been reduced from last year. So last year you were eligible for $3,000 for children under 18 and $3,600 for children under 6. It's reverted back to the 2020, so it's $2,000 under 17. And then a few more things have changed. Child and dependent care credits also changed. It's not $16,000 for 2 kids now. It's a lot lower. I think it's like $3,000 per child. So just so you know, expect some changes next time you go into the tax office. They are also changing some of the eBay sales. So if you've done a lot of eBay sales online, if it's over $600 this year, you're good. Next year, they might give you 1098 or 1099K. So that's a eBay sales if you do those. But this year it's back to the 20,000. As long as you're under 20,000, if making transactions under that amount, you're fine. Next year it might be $600 and above. So that's about all I have. If y'all have any questions, please let me know. Did I miss any?
So fortunately, we're recording this session. So anyone that needs to hear something again, they'll be able to watch the recording. And then, Sabrina, are you okay with me also sharing out that slideshow that you prepared? I know you shared it or you sent it to me earlier today. It was beautiful. It was really nice and very clear. So thank you for that. So I can share that out as well. And then I'm even thinking that we might end up putting it on our resources page, if you are okay, like for coaches to refer, like any new coaches in the future, whatever, or just as a to kind of go back and review that, if you are okay with that. Moving forward, if a member has a question, you know, I mean, are you open to answering those questions if they emailed you? And that's okay if you're not, we don't want to overload you, or would you prefer just to us to maybe put some questions, compile them in a document, and then maybe at some point get some feedback. Like I said, we are very appreciative of you taking your time and knowledge to share that with us. But are you okay if we had a few questions after today's? Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Taxes are one of those things, you know, that makes me cross-eyed. So
They're fun for me.
oh,
It's okay.
well, we appreciate you in many ways, and thank you for your service as well. So all right. Well, thank you, everyone. Please give a silent applause or a wave to Sabrina. Thank you so much, Sabrina.
Thank you.
All right. That was incredibly helpful. And I hope you all learned a thing or two. And like I said, the plan is to share that if you need to listen to anything again. And then she did send me a copy of her slideshow, and I will share that out in that email as well later today. And then also we'll make plans to maybe put that up on our KCC resource page if you need to look at it down the road. So this time is reserved to get some insight and sort of reflection on a couple of recent professional development opportunities that several of our coaches took part in. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. I mean, I've looked at some of their takeaways, and I mean, literally, we could spend a significant amount of time talking about everything that was learned, and how that might be able to be of use to you in your roles in the schools to help students. Like I said, we don't have a lot of time today, so I've asked them just to kind of speak a little bit about some top takeaways or highlights, and then we will look into future opportunities for them to share out more specific information, because I do think that it is valuable. So I'm going to ask at this time, Annette Nevlet, Emily Gibson, and Savannah Drake were invited to Xavier University a couple weeks ago to kind of get a tour of the campus and kind of experience sort of that Cincinnati culture, as well as very important information about the school and how they support military families. And these coaches, there are quite a few families and their communities that are they're military, and so I'm hopeful to learn something myself. So it makes no difference to me who speaks first, or if just one of you want to be the spokesperson for this event. But Annette, Emily, and Savannah.
Hi, I don't mind kind of taking the lead if that's okay with Annette and Savannah, and then if they want to add some things in, I'm good with that. So we, yeah, okay. So we connected with Nathan Ray from Xavier University. He is their assistant director for veterans admissions in their Student Veterans Center, on a visit to E-Town earlier this school year. And he has just proved to be an amazing resource for us, because we are located, proximal to Fort Knox. Elizabethtown is a huge retiree community, so there's tons of families here that are military affiliated, whether they are active service or they are veteran or retiree community. And he was visiting E-Town on like a recruitment visit, and then the next time he came back, we asked like, hey, can we just pick your brain for like an hour? And he sat down with us and just kind of gave us the inside scoop on everything he wishes counselors and coaches and people in our roles in the high schools sort of knew about working with military affiliated students and what Xavier has to offer for their military affiliated students. So then an opportunity came for us to come visit on a like military family, military student like weekend at Xavier, or like not weekend, but trip. And so then he said, hey, do you guys want to come up and do this? So we were able to go, and we spent an entire day, and then they took us to a basketball game. which their basketball team's doing really well. So everybody was really pumped about that. So I think just a couple key takeaways for me about Xavier as a school. What I would tell students is it's that mid-sized school. It is, the campus is beautiful and clean. It's very walkable. I have a 16-year-old who's graduating early as a sophomore, and she was on my mind on that trip a lot because it's exactly that kind of like mid-sized, friendly, like warm, welcoming, inclusive environment that I could see her doing well in as a younger student. They do require 2 years of living on campus, which in her case is a positive thing to help her get adjusted to college life. They are a Jesuit Catholic founding school, but their approach is interfaith. So a lot of the community service events and everything like that, they're big on it being inclusive of other faiths too. So it's not like you have to be Catholic to go there or to feel welcome there. And this particular student was Muslim, so I asked a lot of questions about. And then we're able to be feeling like we were in Cincinnati within like 5 to 10 minutes. But as soon as you get off the highway at Xavier, you really feel like you're in just a small where you could get to Cincinnati and do fun things, but you also have that insulated college community that you can kind of retreat back to. So another strength of Xavier is their veterans and military families program. They have a huge space. Like, I'm a military spouse, and I liken it to like when I go to the airport and I see a USO and I know that there's a place that I could go and there would be people there who kind of speak military and understand kind of what I might be dealing with, particularly when you're traveling as a military family. It's just such a relief. And they have just like a nice, warm, welcoming space there for their veterans and their service member students or military affiliated families. And they have a staff of about like 6 people, which is sort of unheard of. I think we visited Western Kentucky University's Veteran Center, and they are starting to try and get a program going like what Xavier has. And I think they have like 2 people on staff. And they're kind of carving out a couple offices to, be their space. So I think Xavier's just kind of ahead of the game a little bit. Some of the big takeaways, that I have, been able to put into practice from Nate and speaking with Nate is just, first of all, just how much funding is out there for military affiliated folks for education purposes, and that schools are actively recruiting and tracking military affiliation because in their metrics, military affiliated students tend to do better. They tend to seem to adapt well to college life. They seem to have that resiliency and that flexibility from having to move everywhere and make new friends anyway. So like they adapt well to college life. They have higher graduation and retention rates. Not to mention they can pay their bills because there's funding for it, right? So colleges are actively looking for military students. And so, Nate advised us, and I think it's wise for you to tell your students, if you can mention military affiliation on your application, you absolutely should. If it doesn't explicitly ask for it on the application, you should find a way to bring it up in your admissions essay. That's also a good time if you have any, like maybe sophomore year, your GPA dropped, but that was a year that you PCS'd with your family or your, parent was deployed. Mention that, explain that in your admissions essay, so that those gaps in maybe performance could be explained by your military service as a family. There's so much more we want to share. We've actually developed like a full length in-person training that we hope we get an opportunity to do with you all around this topic. But I think that if any other college coaches want to go visit Xavier, they would be very open to that. I would also want to mention Western Kentucky University's, their Veteran Resource Center. Everyone is so excited. Like when we tell them who we are, AmeriCorps, what the college coaches program is and what we do, everyone is so excited to want to partner with us and work with us and to make sure that we're getting, because there's some of these questions with military affiliated, they get really complicated really quickly. And so to be able to have that resource on these college campuses to work with us to try and find answers for students is really valuable. And I think that goes both ways. Like they want to partner with us just as much as we want to partner with them. So that's my very quick synopsis. If
That's awesome.
Savannah want to add anything.
And I have seen the slideshow that Emily and and I'm assuming the other Annette and Savannah have helped with, and so it's I think it's not finished yet, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know what there was. But it is really informative. And so once that is completed, the plan would be is to have a little bit more formal lengthy training informative session on that, because there is a lot to know. And it is a question that's asked in our monthly report about, military affiliated families. And so that is something that we do also as a program want to keep track of. So as you're meeting students and you're engaging with them and their families, if you know that they are a veteran or active military, make sure that you are capturing that on the monthly report, but then also, like what Emily said, include that information on college applications and seek out those resources. Like I think you said his name was Nate at Xavier, every school should have a military sort of contact there to help, because they're, some of those programs, I mean, they're good ones and they're listed in the KIA materials, some, and then there's other resources that you can look to see what all might be available. But it can be complicated or overwhelming until you really get some guidance on that. Annette or Savannah, did you want to add anything to what Emily shared about the Xavier trip?
Well, Emily kind of covered a lot of it, but I just wanted to share that Nathan is really open to coming and visiting the schools and talking to the coaches if they have any military families. He's coming down to North sometime this month to talk to my military family members to explain to them what Xavier offers and stuff like that. I had an awesome experience up there. I mean, I was telling them my daughter had applied at Xavier in like 2005 and got accepted and changed her mind and went somewhere else. So I knew about the school, but I haven't been on the campus since 2005. And so of course it's changed so much, and it was just an awesome experience. And the people there that we spoke to were very friendly, very approachable. So that I feel that students, if they go there, they don't ever have to feel like I can't talk to this professor or I can't talk to this person in the office, because everybody that we met was very approachable, very friendly, very welcoming, making you feel right at home. And it was great.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it.
That is great. And again, I do have to move on, but if you all have questions, for Emily, Savannah, or Annette, feel free to reach out to them. And they can get you the contact information. And because they're so knowledgeable overall about supporting military families, I'm sure they could answer some other questions for you. So next, I'm going to ask for a very quick sort of a reflection or takeaways from the CPE Student Success Summit. So if there is, Gregory, I know you were working on some materials to share out, and if you want to be the spokesperson for that, or Erica or Kayla, if any of you want to quickly share your takeaways from that Student Success Summit.
Yeah, I will, and I'll make it quick. So
thank you, Gregory.
The presenters of the workshop introduced an ongoing strategy to connect with students, chart a path for our students, collaborate with professional learning partnerships, and remove barriers that deter individuals from pursuing a higher education. It was very, very beneficial. I came away, understanding that we have to have a student-centered approach that results in a seamless transition to a certificate or a degree. And kind of the things that I learned and we're going to put in practice is with our students is to incentivize behaviors, create a culture of care and inclusion, develop a sense of belonging, and install time management skills and the rewards of financial stability. So it was good, and that's what I got from it. So those 4 bullet points, that's what I'll be working on. And those were to incentivize behaviors, create a culture of care and inclusion, develop a sense of belonging, and instill time management skills and the rewards of financial stability.
Thank you so much, Gregory. And it sounds like it was a time, individuals to come, professionals across the state to come together. It was very like a call to action, a reminder of how we need to approach our roles in education. And it sounds very inspiring. So I look forward to seeing what more you are going to share out in the next month or so and some trainings. And thank you for giving a quick report today. All right.
Sure.
Excellent. So if you have any questions about the Council on Post-Secondary Education, the Student Success Summit, again, Erica Elliott attended, Kayla O'Donnell, Gregory Gray, and Mindy Wilson also. And so we'll be looking for more information in the near future about those, about that information. So last Friday, when I sent out my weekly email, and I know other program managers do it different, I think Tony has already sent out some information as well. There has been an uptick, unfortunately, in the presence of fentanyl in our schools. And I don't even want to pretend like I'm an expert on this issue. My own son at their school, they had this happen. A kid got a hold of a vape pen. It had fentanyl in it. He had seizures in the school. That's up here in Northern Kentucky. He's okay. But very scary for that student, very scary for the adults in that building who are looked to kind of be able to handle any crisis, right? And I'm sure it was scary for the family and the other students to see it or just hear about it. This particular student that I'm referring to was one of the school star basketball players, so it really impacted, because the student just had a certain kind of influence in the school. So it has no boundaries, it's affecting students very, very widely. So there is an article or a bulletin that Tony shared with me. You may have already seen it about a recent incident in a certain part of our state. So when you get this slideshow, you can click on the link to read that bulletin. Again, it is not isolated to one area in the state. I'm sure there are greater, incidents than others, but it is happening. Even if it's not reported out into the community, it is happening. The incident that I just shared about, my son's school, I never received an email from the school about it. I never received, anything. My son told me about it. So schools, because they're trying to protect students and they're trying to figure out protocols and things like that, they may not openly share it as much as you might think that they do, but we're asking you in your role as a coach, because you are, you're on site, you have relationships with students, you're up close and, boots on the ground, you are, hopefully you don't experience it, but the possibility that your school is going to have some type of exposure to this, or you're going to hear about it. Hopefully you don't experience it firsthand, as far as, finding a student who has come in contact with that. But we are encouraging you to understand the issue more, read about it, seek out some information, some real factual information about it. And then get with your school, get with your principal, your site supervisor, your counselors, your crisis management team in your school to find out what your role is, how they're asking you to respond. That may look different for everybody. But, we want you to know that, that your role is not to handle this, that you are not the person in the building that has to handle this crisis alone. That doesn't mean that you aren't part of a system that responds to something like this, but this is, you do not take this role on yourself. This is not for you to solve, but you can be part of the solution or the response. It's very important as part of that understanding that you are just part of the response, part of the system that responds, that you are referring, that you are not taking this on, like I said, yourself. It's too much for any one person. You haven't had proper training, neither have I. And I've been in education for 29 years. So, I mean, this is not something that you have to take on or handle yourself. So please make sure you read about the issue, that you're reading factual information, you get with your school partners, find out what is the response plan to this. And it's probably changing as the issue grows, unfortunately, but talk about that with your school partner or the other adults in the building, the other professionals, and just make sure that you are referring, work on a system of referral. And that goes not only for a fentanyl crisis or an issue, but it's also to deal with, other matters that, that we are, yes, we are college and career readiness that could, for the high schools anyway, and colleges, you are working on some other initiatives, best practices and things like that, or high impact practices, excuse me. So, but because of our relationship and roles, interacting with students, it is possible that we will sort of hear something, see something, but you need to have a solid plan in place for referral. What do I do if I see this, or I hear this, or I witness this? You are not just there to solve the problems of all the students, or just gaps in responses and things like that in your program. So please make sure that you're having those conversations. We will have more on this, as things unfold and issues kind of emerge, but just know that that this has been a reported problem. Read about it, know your school's response plan, and please refer students appropriately to those professionals in your building. Okay, now I am any schools. So there are some comments, it looks like, and let's see, schools are open measures to prevent this. And yeah, I mean, I've spent some time talking with some school counselors recently, and it does look different. Some, I think it's more prevalent, but it doesn't sound like any one area is really, it's not absent in any one area, unfortunately. Okay, so there is an opportunity for students that wanted to share out. Thank you, Gail, for getting this information to me. But Eastern Kentucky college coaches, Berea College is seeking nominations from people, from people for academically promising students who have financial need and who live in the flood impacted counties, and they're listed there. And so you can use the link in the slideshow. The deadline is March 31st. And for this, students will that meet those criteria will be able to be eliminated, or that will be able to eliminate the application fee, expedite the decision review process, and some financial need can also be part of that. So if you are in those counties or working with students in those counties, and the student shows an interest in attending Berea College, please take a look at this opportunity for them, and it may really be that big help for them to support them in their transition to college. Just a couple of pictures I thought I'd share. David Frisbee and his students at Morgan ATC. He recently had an interview competition. These are his two winners. And then Ryan Scheinbein shared a table that he set up for an open house, and he did a great job. He's very talented and skilled at marketing materials and sort of layout and all that. So I'm very appreciative of him being there for that open house, and also sharing what that setup looked like. So nice job on that. Very important. So NKU does require for staff as well as our members, so everybody on this call is going to be required to do what's called an annual compliance refresher. And so I will be including this information in my end of week email, but I will also, the link is also here that you can access that refresher course. So I believe, let's see, if you are very recently starting service, you are not supposed to do the refresher. You would have done that as part of your new employee sort of onboarding. So employees who started January 1st are not required to complete the refresher. So if you started prior to January 1st of 2023, you are required to take part in this refresher. I have time on my calendar after this afternoon. I'll be doing mine, and I can send a reminder as well. So take a look at that, and please make sure that you have that completed by March 24th. So you might want to put that on your calendar. Okay. Parent camp. So some of you have been receiving, or many of you should have been receiving information about what's called parent camp. It is, I believe it's sort of a national program, and it is virtual. It's held in the evenings, and it is all around the things that we do. You know, whether we're a parent, a coach, you know, a community member, but it's all about opportunities that are available around education. Very innovative conversations and presentations. Because these are held in the evening, obviously they're not mandatory, but if you are looking for some innovative ideas or some things to share with students, maybe you need to, you know, to make up a little bit of, you know, an hour or two of time. You know, this is a great opportunity for you to learn and also fulfill that time requirement. So their parent camp is putting on a special presentation Thursday, March 2nd. So that's tomorrow. This is the link to register for that if you're interested. And the focus is going to be on what they call career camp. And these are some examples of some of the things that they'll be talking about. So exploring different career options, and then partnering with businesses and things like that. So, but parent camp has, I believe it's almost weekly. And Shelley, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they have weekly sessions where they invite in professionals, guest speakers, and these are live webinars. You can listen in, you can be interactive, but they are very informative. I've attended a couple of them and walked away learning a lot. And some of the guest speakers are really high profile people. So, you know, you get like a front row to the latest and greatest, and it's a great opportunity to network. And so if you are feeling that you're ready for new information, innovation, and some networking, these are great opportunities. But you can register specifically for career camp using this link, or use the QR code. It should work still, even though it's just a copy and paste from there. And then also be sure to sign up for parent camp in general, their weekly sort of emails and communications. And then that way you can see that coming through firsthand and make decisions for yourself. Is this something that, you know, is this a topic, or is this a session that I'm able to attend, and not just relying on us to send it out to you. So to get those communications firsthand. So if anyone does end up attending, you know, let me know, send me an email. I'd love to hear, because I unfortunately won't be able to attend the one tomorrow, but I do look forward to future parent camps. Just a quick reminder, if you are working with students in dual credit, these are upcoming Kentucky Advising Academy 30-minute webinars. They are free. You can use the link on this slide to register. I know Ryan is going to be, I believe, attending the one tomorrow, Understanding Dual Credit and its role in career pathways. And some of you also may have made the decision to do that. So again, even if you are serving at a college, you know, this is a conversation between high schools and colleges. So this would be, you know, for anyone on this call really could benefit from it. All right. Whew. How am I doing on time?
About 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay. And I do apologize for going so quickly. I feel like we could definitely talk a lot more on many of these subjects. So, so once you review the materials later today, feel free to reach out if you have questions, or, you know, talk within your ambassador groups about some of these things to get clarification or just to kind of continue the conversation. So last webinar for the February 1st webinar, we started this this segment on your best guess. And I really didn't develop it the way that I wanted to, so hopefully I do a better job today. But we're looking at data, so we're really trying to focus on the importance of data, the data that you're collecting. You all spend a lot of time each month, not only having those conversations and working with students, supporting them, helping them meet their goals, but you also then have to go back in America Learns and report that for your core student data as well as your monthly report. And so, we look at that and we want to sort of highlight it. And we also want to do a call to action, so to speak, to kind of remind us that this is a very important part of our roles in the school. It may not be as exciting as working directly with students, but it is important for you to continue on, knowing what you worked on the last time with the student, to kind of keep that progression going, to help students with their personal pathways. But it's also very important to us as a program to continue. If we cannot provide that hard evidence that we are having an impact in our schools, that we are, really helping students meet challenges and helping them, meet their goals, then, our program can cease to exist. So this evidence, through the hard work that you do of collecting data, entering it in AmeriCorps and America Learns is incredibly important. So this week's
Karen, can I interrupt 1 second?
Yes,
Tony
please.
got kicked out and she wants back in.
Oh,
and you're the only one who can give her access.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm not seeing that she's trying to get in. So let me go back. Hang on. I usually get a notification, and let me go and see. I am not getting.
Okay, if you don't see her, don't worry. We only have 2 minutes. Keep going. I'll tell her that.
Oh, hold on. I just needed to scroll up a little bit. Hang on. Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, Tony, thank you, Mindy, for letting me know. All right. So the question for this month's webinar is, and keep in mind this data is probably a couple weeks old, so the numbers may have changed a little bit. Hopefully they did. But out of 615 high school seniors, so these would be core students that are currently high school seniors, how many of those seniors have our Kentucky College Coaches reported as FAFSA complete? So I'm going to ask you just in the chat, just to put your best guess out of 615 senior core high school students, how many do you feel have our college coaches reported as FAFSA complete? So I'm going to take a look and see some really great guesses here. Sarah says 425, Rachel 460, Ivy Smith says 430, Carly says 485. All right, I'll just give a couple more seconds. Annette says 400. Brianna says 475. Okay, so here's the big reveal. Okay, I haven't heard any chairs falling over or mouths dropping.
I am shocked. That is sad, I think, but
yeah,
I'm experiencing that at my school. Really a lot of dragging of the feet, and but I was glad I was able to mail out a link to one of my core students' parents on the IRS tax data retrieval tool that Keith presented, and hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
And that is Yeah, I was shocked by it.
It's surprising. And like I said,
Yes.
this data is we ran a report and it's a few weeks old. So that number is likely have gone up, but I don't think that we're anywhere near some of the guesses, the best guesses that we got, in the upper 300s or, mid 400s. And yes, there will be students who for whatever reason, whether it's not part of their pathway or the parents are uncooperative or, whatever, we realize it's likely never going to be 100%, but right now, based on our data, it looks like just 16% of our core students
Karen,
as completed. Yes.
what data, where did you get the data from?
From America Learns.
So Karen, that data is a week and a half old. It is not a few weeks. So it's relatively accurate.
Right.
But I will point out, so there are lots of questions about where we get the data. It's from America Learns. So this is on reported. So if you're not reporting that your core students have completed their FAFSA in America Learns, then we can't count them as completed their FAFSA in our numbers. So we are not pulling it from the Kia FAFSA completion challenge because we don't know which of those students are core students. So this is of our core students that are in America Learns that you guys have entered or have carried on, who has been reported. So that number is likely much higher, but it's not being reported in America Learns. So this is a plug to make sure that you're reporting on your students and putting in the data that you know about for your students. Because I think that our numbers are probably closer to what you guys were guessing.
Yes.
But it's not reported in America Learns for us to be able to pull that data from.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mindy. Yes. So, I mean, so we don't want to come down too hard on ourselves like, so sometimes you've already, students are there, that they've completed it, but they just haven't been marked that. So this number, like Mindy said, is only as good as the data that's recorded in America Learns. So
he didn't know where you were.
Karen, there is a question. Do we report the seniors as having it completed, even if we weren't the ones that assisted them in completing it, or if they did it themselves?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to answer it the way I think that should be answered, but if I'm wrong, somebody chime in. But yes, if they are FAFSA completed, so you may have not physically done it, maybe, there was a workshop or whatever. Yes, but if you know that they are completed, they need to be marked completed. I mean, is that correct? Or am I wrong about that?
Yes, and it's just for the core students though, right?
Yes, for core students, yes. Okay, and I know the way I answered.
Go to the cafeteria because he's not answering his phone.
Annette, can you be on, can you put yourself on mute?
I already.
Here, Karen, there's also the question, can we see the updated number next meeting? I would love to run that data for you. Okay. And so let's see how much we can improve that number as a group. I would love to challenge everybody to get those FAFSA numbers, check in with your core group students and report that. If you don't know, ask them, or if you do know, put that in the report and I'll run it again and we'll see how much we've improved.
I love that. And I'm not sure who asked that question. Sarah, thank you. Yes, I love that. So you guys are challenging yourself. And again, very likely those numbers are much higher to the guesses that were given, but we just, we can't count it unless it's marked. So this is just a call to action, go in, make sure your core student reporting is correct. And, and if you find that, it looks like, you need to work with students a little bit more on the FAFSA, do so. But if it's just a matter of clicking a box or whatever, that would be great. Because I know you all are really doing a lot there in your schools and you're working very hard. So I know we're already over on time. Lastly, I just want to say, I didn't talk about spring break, but you are not required to serve over your spring break. But if there are activities that the school needs or, that you need to get caught up on some data entry through America Learns, make sure you get approval from your site supervisor to put in a few hours over spring break. Also include me or your program manager on that email. So when timesheets come through, if we see numbers or hours coming during your spring break, we want to make sure that we have approval and all that. Otherwise, you are not required to serve on your spring break. So if you have any questions about that, if you're lacking hours, if you're concerned, please check in with your program manager and we can have a conversation about that. Cheryl, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Just real quick. I had received some things, and I can't remember the specific email about becoming a vaccine ambassador in with Xavier University and Health Collaborative, and also with some mental health first aid things that were going on in Kenton County at their library. Can those count as our service hours if we've done them, Karen?
So sometimes, okay, so I'm going to answer it the way that I think to answer it. But if, Shelley, Gail, Mindy, Tony, feel free to hop on. So sometimes we share out information about, hey, this is kind of connected to college and career readiness. If you want to participate in this, we will allow this to be part of your service hours. But sometimes we also share out community information like, oh, hey, you might be interested in, gardening, or you might, because it is an opportunity to network and, kind of get some personal fulfillment. So in a situation like being a vaccine ambassador in your region, I mean, my first thought is that it wouldn't directly be related to college and career readiness. And so it likely would not be counted as service time. But I feel like that there could be a conversation around that. So I'm going to sort of hand it over any thought to Gail or Mindy or Shelley or Tony about that. So if you wouldn't mind commenting.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for folks to send us non-student related volunteer activities and we can consider them. So if you have something that you'd like to participate in, please send it to your program manager and we will consider it and let you know. It looks like there's two other hands. Oh, sorry, Cheryl, go ahead.
Just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah. It looks like Carmen and Annette both have their hands up.
My question is simple, and I don't know, maybe it's just me and a guilty conscience. Like the other day when I stayed I did my time and then I came back for the open house thing. Is there a way on American Learns we can put in when we took that break? Because I left school like at 3:30 and then I came back at 5, but on American Learns I had to put it in and made it look like I worked for 12 hours, which I know I didn't. So I kind of feel guilty about doing that. And I was like, is there a way we can put in there to show that we took a break?
Yes.
In between?
Yes. So I can spend some time, or Tony can spend some time showing, like demonstrating it. But essentially what you're going to want to do is the way I do it is, put your start and end time. So it may look like 12 hours, but then in the red area where it says time not receiving credit for. So what you want to do is, so if it was 2 hours that you went home, you changed shoes, whatever, then that should be 2 hours in that red zone by the time, but after you designate how the other 10 hours or whatever was spent. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So use that red zone sort of time you won't be receiving credit for as that sort of calculator for you. But if you need help, let me know.
All right. I
Good
think
question.
I can figure it out.
Thank you.
Carmen?
Going back to FAFSA completion, if you look at your FCI report and you are having trouble reaching a student, you don't know if they fill out the FAFSA or not, just look at that FCI report. If you're in a bigger school like I was when I started, I would just highlight my students each week that I got the report, and that way I could report them as completed.
Some students do not mark their school properly on their FAFSA, so they might not be on the FCI report.
That's true also, and they may have already completed it, but not be on the FCI report because of the algorithm that Kia uses.
Also,
but that's still, I mean, it's better than nothing.
Also, ATCs might have an issue with that because I don't have any access to all 4 schools I work with on their EFC. So what I do is I check on them, be like, hey, what was your EFC? What did you qualify? Can you show me the proof? So that's kind of how I do it, because I'm working with 4 different schools, plus some homeschool kids thrown in, some private school kids thrown in there. So
That sounds like a good
That's
strategy.
how
Kayla.
some ATCs, if you struggle with that aspect, that's one way you can overcome that issue.
And I guess you could also just check in with those feeder schools, counselors, and, I mean, I know they're busy too and all that, but I like that strategy to sort of supplement the other checks on that. So thank you.
And there's one question about what is the FCI report for those who don't know?
That's the FAFSA completion index, I think is what that stands for. At my school, because we're so small, it just goes to the counselor, but there is a designated person. There should be a designated person at your school board that gets that report, and they usually send it to the counselors.
The person at my school, they send it directly to me. So I get that report every week, and she's real faithful about making sure I get it every Thursday. I get my FAFSA completion report from my person that works at the board. We don't even go to the counselors at all. And I love it.
And so thank you all for your expertise in some of those areas. So I would rather you respond than me that may only know a small piece of it. I did see a comment or question from Harley, who was also at an ATC. And a lot of the students, who attend an ATC or a CTE program or CTC, they may go right into the workforce or enter into like a registered apprenticeship. And they may not have maybe an interest in attending college. They already have something lined up, and so I do understand that although we want all students or as many students as possible to see college as a possibility, an option, even if it's just the practice of filling out a FAFSA, because they may decide to attend college at a later time in their life, and just having that experience of knowing what it is, filling it out, helps with that understanding. But specifically in a case where a student's going into a registered apprenticeship, filling out the FAFSA will allow them to also possibly, see what other kind of like work ready scholarships that they might be able to pair with that. Also, kind of gets the conversation going around KEYS money. KEYS money can be used for registered apprenticeship programs for purchase of tools and supplies that they could use with their apprenticeship or later career kind of trade roles. So I realize we don't want to force anyone to complete the FAFSA, but there are advantages for students and families to have that experience, just to see. I mean, it could be a game changer, for them, but it could also get the conversation going around how to use KEYS money for registered apprenticeship supplies and tools. So
also, like, I'm at the ATC Harley here in Mayfield, and sometimes like doing that, and they look at, hey, I can use it for certification for become more certified electricity work at the West Kentucky Community College and stuff like, or like, oh, I actually qualify for Pell Grants and stuff. I can actually go, because a lot of my personal experience, a lot of our ATC kids they're lost. They don't have that. Their parents are just like, go to work. That's what we did. Find a trade. Where kind of seeing that, like, I have one student who I just even pulled up what's covered under the Work Ready Scholarship, and he was like, I got that, let's do it. So those are, because I feel like ATC kids are a little bit different. That's just me.
Yeah, and I mean, there isn't a one size fits all, but I do agree that there are lots of opportunities right now with registered apprenticeships, workforce opportunities. Pay is running generally high and all this stuff. So some students will be drawn more to those experience, or the type of learner they are, whatever. Maybe they don't want to do a gen ed or whatever is their they're turned away from that as an option. But again, just having that experience with the FAFSA. But then also, like what Kayla said, sometimes it just opens up, ideas. Like, it's enlightening to see, oh, you mean I could do this? And we know that, that individuals that, have a degree or have a college certificate, that they are a little bit more insulated, or significantly more insulated from, economic downturn. It could be that ingredient that helps to set them apart from other applicants or future promotions and things like that. So again, we don't want to force anyone into it, but having that conversation, or just opening that conversation door could lead to some really great things for that student in the near future or down the road. So and I do see that there are some other questions and comments, and I really appreciate the conversation around the FAFSA and ATCs and all that. So please take the time, if you haven't already, to kind of look at that transcript of questions and comments over to the side there. But we are significantly over. Some of that is because of the tornado drills and all that, and some of that is just because I just keep talking. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful March. We are looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible at the April in-person training in Lake Cumberland. Don't forget to RSVP. We will also be sending out information about the next webinar, or you likely have already received that invite. So I know I'm supposed to end with a takeaway, and I honestly don't have one prepared, but that might be good because of the fact that it is so far over. So look for me to share out these resources, including Sabrina Shepherd's slideshow. If you have any questions, concerns, please reach out to your program manager or me. I'm happy to help in any way. So we'll just end with giving everybody a goodbye. Thank you so much, all. Have a great day. Thank you for your participation and everything you do. Watch for AmeriCorps Week stuff to come out soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Karen.
Yes.
I had a question about training. I didn't want to bring it up while everybody was on here, but is there going to be Wi-Fi in the cabins? Me and Emily talked about splitting